Hello, I'm back. I've just taken a bit of a break from the last upload. So we will continue this. I will continue this chat at part 2, and then we'll go from there. At the moment, I'm going through a really huge shift, as I mentioned before. Since this experience has happened, I'm seeing life in a very different way. I'm seeing the world in a very different way now. I'm going through a bit of a rebirth, like I mentioned. So also physically in my body, I have a lot of joint pain. When I move, my bones are cracking all the time. Inflammation in my whole body. I've been getting extreme chest pains recently. Even having anxiety, just talking about this. I've been having a lot of anxiety attacks, just knowing that I'm sharing this information, because it is very disturbing to me. Some people might not find this disturbing, but to me this is disturbing because it's real, because it's the real thing. And yeah, I don't want to be thrown in some kind of basket, which I feel that I get kind of slapped into anyway by default all the time, which really pisses me off, is that people automatically think that I am crazy. I am not crazy. I'm not crazy. I promise you. I'm only just sharing this for anyone out there as, I guess, like a warning. I'm seeing things in such a different way right now through this rebirth that I'm going through, where I could easily just delete this channel at this point. I don't really care overly. I care to reach out to people and share the information freely for people, but I don't. It's like I'm only going to do uploads unless I'm really, really called to it, and I'm only going to go there when I'm really in it, in the zone. But yeah, like I said, I'm going through a lot of pain right now. This is an epiphany moment in my life. I am also considering not turning to the church, but I am considering going to a priest of some level to talk about this experience, and also potentially meet with some people outside of the occult world that will be able to help me. I believe that this vision that I was shown in this dream, or this visitation that I've had to hell, has happened like for a reason. And I know that I'm strong, but this has brought me down to my knees. I've even done things in the past couple of weeks where I have been so out of my own character. I've literally jumped out into the world on my own, just seeing the world in a different way, like to try and view things in a different way, to get perspective and shake it off. Yeah. I have been taking painkillers for a while now, which I'm also getting off. Also, just dealing with this level of knowledge in my brain sometimes is unbelievable. And I think some people out there will definitely probably laugh at me and are think that I'm making all of this up, or I'm some kind of fantasist, or I'm insane, and I'm not. And that's why I'm doing this, because I feel that I'm sharing this testimonial as a reason for people out there, that serves as a warning to know that everything that we do in this life matters. The way that we treat each other matters. The way that the companies that we work for, and I'll get onto that later in my chat at some point as well, but the companies that we work for, and the company that we keep, how we treat animals, everything that we do, there is a higher power out there, and I now am seeing it as God or source. Whatever word you want to use for it. Everything we do is being recorded. It has a vibrational karma to it. This place that I went to, hell, is the lowest dimension in existence. Your stomach will not be able to process this. That's why I'm saying I'm cutting out as much as I can in these uploads, because you'll probably feel sick to your stomach. I feel sick talking about it. And even today, I was really low on energy. So I put myself in the car and I just drove down the street to go get something to eat. And then I ended up getting a pizza. And I just sat in my car eating the pizza on my own, because behind the steering wheel, because I was thinking, why the fuck am I doing this? Why the fuck am I uploading this, what am I thinking? And then I thought to myself, you have to do this. You have to do this. Because there's people out there that are making decisions in their life that don't understand the consequences, the paths that they're taking, the choices that they're making. And then I just got this light in my head, it came down from above me, like an angel or something. And it was it said in my mind's eye, in my head, it was the more specific you are with this testimony, the more truthful I can be, the better. So don't skimp the details. That's why it's got to be more like me doing this testimony is me describing this place to you as an experience than me just reading some shit off of off the internet and going, this is hell, ha ha ha. I want you to fucking understand this. Please, please listen to me. Forget about every other podcast I've done. And if you can hear what I'm saying, hear it from every fiber of me. This is real. Hell is real. That's why I'm sharing this podcast for this exact reason. Now, I've meditated for days and weeks on this before I wanted to go ahead and do this. I thought I'll be I thought it would be a year or something before I go into this, but lately I've just felt so called to share this that it was now it's time. You can access hell from a sleep state. Okay, you can access other dimensions from a state of sleep. You don't have to have the death experience of the physical body to go there. I also understand that me sharing this information, I am not a religious person. Up until the last few months, I never really connected with angels. I never really worked with an angel. When people say, just pause button, I'm hitting the pause button. When people say, I'm working with an angel, I want to know, what the fuck are you talking about? Do you mean you're asking the angel for something and the angel's going to show up like a genie in a bottle and deliver to you like some bitch? No. Working with an angel, and I want to make this clear now before I'm getting a little bit fucking fired up now because I can feel the energy coming through. It's just saying in my head, just Lucas, just keep talking, is I'm so vulnerable right now. It's I have to, it's there's almost someone telling me to shut up. Right now, even today, I've been getting weird stuff in my house, noises, things. It's even heat coming over me, telling me just to shut up, don't talk, don't say anything. And that's why I'm saying these things. I'm doing this podcast. It's just I'm not perpetuating a religion here. I'm not a religious person, but I have had this experience and now it's made me question everything. It's really making me question everything I've been doing, what I've been saying, my understanding of the spiritual world, of the occult, of all of the tools, the tarot. I mean, everything. I'm bringing everything into question now. Something like in my head, as I'm saying this in real time, it's like I'm channeling this. I could write a book about this. I could write a fucking book about this experience. I thought I was going to. And then it's like sometimes I get an idea as an artist and I get that much information and I talk so quick and all this stuff comes through. It's like writing this down wouldn't even do it justice. It's better to just start talking and just see what comes out and be like, okay, just get it out. Fuck it. Who cares? If it's not in chronological order, who gives a fuck? If it doesn't make sense to people, who gives a fuck? They'll understand. This is very heavy on the heart. Very, very heavy on the heart to talk about. That's why I've been like avoiding this. What to expect for this is that my soul feels sick. So yeah, forgive me if I'm not really at my best right now, and I apologize. I've said that in my other podcasts, but now I'm like part 2. I'm back, and I'm just going to get into it after meditating. I'd just rather jump right in it now and just say it, because it's so very difficult to like talk about this. Hell is horrible. It is horrible. Now, I'm a very curious person. I've tried lots of different experiences in my life. I've got a very open mind. I'm open to the truth. I'm open to whatever things are and trying to understand them. But I think what has happened is that coming through a crossroads in my life, which I'm going through, where I'm kind of rebirthing myself and I'm starting again at 38. It's also like a spiritual shift that's happening in me where I'm questioning my path. And then this happened, right? And as crazy as it is, it's like I went there. I was asleep and I was curious. I was traveling in the astral world in my dreams. It's so hard to explain. Like, I went through a portal. I think that's how it happened. I went through this. It was like a whirlpool. It kind of pulled me into a wormhole and I got sucked through this tube. That's what it felt like, entering hell. I remember being around all this light. All this light was around me. And I think that was the light of an angel. This angel. I didn't see the angel in the form of like a man with wings or anything like that. I just saw the wings. That's all I got. The light was so bright I couldn't see it because it was so bright. And then I went down this kind of like, I know this sounds graphic, but I don't know if you've watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where that kid gets sucked up the tube. But it's like I was falling in this tube. And all of a sudden, I just got pushed out the other side. It was like I hit the ground so hard and I knew that I was beyond where I was. I knew that I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. This must have been like the entrance point. I guess I must have like set my compass to go here and be like, I'm really curious, let's go. And somehow I've opened up something and I've gone there. It was, as soon as I got there, I want to, how do I it was very, very dense. Everything is very heavy. Just like describing it, my arms were really heavy. Like just breathing hurt. Everything hurt. It was very hard to move. I think it's because hell must be the most densest dimension. Like it's more dense than this dimension here in planet Earth. It wasn't hot. It didn't feel hot. It was humid, like being in a really sweaty, grimy place. And very heavy, hard to breathe. Like when I was breathing, it hurt, like everything, like just sucking in air hurt. It's like I was underwater or something. Just moving, everything was pushing against me. Everything was so weighted. That's the feeling that I got straight away. That's what hit me. And then it was this unbelievable smell. The smell of hell. It is so fucking bad. I've never smelled anything like it in my life. It was almost like my eyes and my senses were kind of adjusting to this place for the first few minutes of being there. I stood up and walked around. I was barefoot as well. I wasn't naked, but I had the clothes that I was wearing. Sometimes I go to sleep in a jumper, like an oversized jumper with holes in it. So I had my jumper on and I was just in my underwear, like a pair of jocks. The ground was all rubble and ash. I remember there was lots of ash just falling around everywhere on the ground, all black. And I was looking up at the sky and it's like overcast and with a really dark, like saturation. Everything is saturated and stark. The sky was rumbling. There was no light. So there was no light point in the sky. It was like the sky was the only form of light that was there. But it was so hard to see to start with, just being there. And the smell was like, it was like sewage, raw sewage. When I was a kid, I went on a school camp, and I don't know why, but we actually went to a sewage farm where they look at sewage and the process of like human waste. And I'll never forget the smell of these vats were very much the same smell of hell. It stinks so bad. I nearly passed out. I had my hands over my nose, but even then it was kind of going up into my nose. Like, have you ever been around someone who has really, really bad breath? Or like someone that, like, have you ever been around, like, it was like being in a public toilet. The smell was so bad, it was like I was going to pass out. It's like the force of this scent was so strong. It was just unbelievable. It was like vomit and dog shit. Yeah, it was unbelievable. I just remember the smell. Like, this is the first part of my testimony. And everything's grimy, very grimy. Like, even I'd only been there for what I thought was a minute or so, but suddenly all of my skin, my hands were all dirty and covered in this black there were puddles on the ground around me, and they were bubbling. They were bubbling from underneath, and steam was coming out of it. I think that they were like acid. The puddles were acid. I knew not to touch anything. I just knew straight away, what have I done? What have I done? Where am I? What the fuck is going on? I went into panic mode for the first few 30 seconds or so. And the clouds above were very dark, all overcast, like I said. There was a red tinge in there. Red and black was the tinge. Have you ever put the contrast of a photo down really low? That's what it felt like. It's like the atmosphere had its own personality. I could hear the screams. It was like a mix of people yelling, babies screaming, dogs barking. I could hear dogs barking. I could hear people just screaming, wailing, women. It was lots of women voices to start with. The sensory overload of this was so intense. It was like I was there, but I was kind of out of it because I was still trying to adjust to it. I'm sorry, as I'm actually talking now, I'm just sitting on a chair in my lounge room. My TV just turned itself off. I had my TV on in the background. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah. I'm just going to keep talking. I'm going to keep going. I know I just got to get this out. Sorry, I might have to pause this video, but I'll try and keep going. The feeling that I got there was time felt different. I just knew that something, as soon as I got there, I had to leave. I didn't want to get out. That was the vibe in my head. It was like, get out, leave now, go. It was like that. And then as I started to walk around, the temperature started to change. I remember it became very, very hot. It went from being really humid to really hot. It was like my skin was going to melt off. I definitely knew that I was in a place that I should not be. It felt very primal and very physical. Everything felt very physical. I don't know other word to describe it. More physical than anything I've ever felt. Very dense. I walked around and I noticed the ground was moving. And as I was looking down, I realized it wasn't actually gravel or the soot that I was walking in. It was actually snakes. There were black snakes on the ground. There were cockroaches, centipedes, and creatures that I don't even know what they were. I've never seen them. I've never seen them in a Natural Geographic movie or anything. I don't know. There were insects there that were just huge. And the ground was just littered with them. They were moving everywhere. Bugs, snakes. I was just scared I was going to step on one. So I was shuffling my feet really slowly. And just as I was getting my bearings, this realm, I just remember it had nothing but absolute fear. It was just like fear, anger, confusion, sadness, suffering, loneliness, just amplified on such a level that was just overpowering. It was completely overpowering. I'm just talking about the entrance point here because I know I'm going to go on, because as I spent a little bit more time there, I got more of a bearing on it so I could understand where I was. The smell, but I just keep going back to the smell. It was just overcoming. It was overpowering me to the point where I just could barely stand. It took me a while to understand. It was just so hard to breathe, the dust. And then I was looking down at the ground, and it was like there were faces in the ground, like people that had been there for so long. I think I stepped on someone's face with my foot. Like my heel of my foot went into their mouth and they kind of bit me. They were just stuck in the ground, like they were fixtures of the litter, like in the ground, like they'd been there for so long. And then I realized that they were actually like also kind of moaning and wailing. Yeah, it was just, this is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Everything felt painfully slow and painfully fast at the same time. So I can continue to kind of walk around, and when I began to understand what was going on and where I was, I knew that I was where I was. So I jumped into this portal. I'd gone through into this place. My sensory system was completely in such an overload. So I was kind of blacking out, like I said at the start, and then just something felt very, very wrong. I was scared. There was fear. I had nothing but fear. I could fear. I just knew that it was like I was in a prisoner of war camp and I was going to be spotted at any moment. It was like, I remember there was this pile of rubble, and it's hard to describe, but I think it was like buildings that were blown out, and like there were buildings that were half destroyed and brick formations of what once was there. In the distance I could see cars. It looked like, I think they were cars. I don't know, I can't be sure, but it was cars, like the skeleton of a vehicle that had just been burned and charred. There was lots of steam coming out of places, red steam. There was greens, reds, and blacks were mostly the color palette of the like surrounding area. And I was just in such fear, like I was in complete fear. I also heard kids screaming as well, that was probably the most scariest part of this whole thing. Was I always, in my mind, if I come into terms with this now, is that, children are there as well. So like I said in the first podcast, at the moment, I'm getting like bits of downloads that are coming through in bits and pieces. So that's why this is a bit disjointed. But the kids that were there, I could hear kids. There were kids in there. The feeling that I got was this place is so filthy and unholy. It was very sexual. It had a very sexual vibe to it, like a BDSM room for extreme pain. That's what this was. It was all about pain. Yeah. So, I was walking around, and that's when I noticed a group of people. There was actually one person I saw first, and it was a woman. And she was walking around, and she had she was looking for her baby. She kept asking, where's my baby? Have you seen my baby? And I just remember saying, no, I haven't seen your baby. And I remember she came up to me and kind of grabbed me by my jumper and pulled me in. And it was like the desperation. And then she just walked off. I just stood there and she walked off. And as I was walking into like, there were more people around me. Some of them were laying on the ground. Some of them were stuck in the ground. And then I started to look at their faces, and that was when I saw this one guy. I think he was Asian. I'm not sure. He looked Oriental, but it was hard to tell. What I noticed in hell is the faces of the people shows who they really are. So it's like they look like who they were, but it's distorted. So a lot of the facial features are like out of proportion. So it could be really, really big head with a really little neck, or really googly big eyes in a little face, in a little head. I noticed that straight away when I started looking at these people, and they would look back at me, and a lot of them were lost in a perpetual loop. That was the feeling. It's like everything is the same again on a loop. So it was like they'd been there for that long. They must have been used to people coming and going. So their internal hell in their head is the hell that they're in now. And the anger, just such anger, chaotic anger. The thing that I noticed as well is that whatever torture is most painful, hell knows. Like the demonic world knows that. So that's what you get. So everyone seemed to be on their own personal loop while they're there. For example, that woman that was looking for her baby, but I think she killed the baby. I don't know. And that's when I was looking at other people, the people that I noticed, they looked monstrous. And then I walked out of this broken area and saw a whole line of people walking together, and they were all chained. There were chains. There was rattling of chains. They were all chained, and they were all walking towards something. I don't know whether I was outside of hell or I was in hell. I know I was there, but I know it was like I hadn't entered into a realm of it. It was like there's different sectors of it, if that makes sense, which have different leaders in different parts of it. But it was just so huge as far as I could see. And the sounds, there was a lot of wind. It was very windy. And it was like that. So I think I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go have something to eat again, or maybe get a drink. This is the first part of this part 2 that I'm doing, and then I'm going to share the next part as soon as I feel ready to do it. I'll come back and I'll continue. I'll continue this in a second. Just let me pause it, and I'll cut these recordings together to make it into this video. Okay. Hello, I'm here, I'm back. I'm continuing my testimonial. Thank you for joining me. This is day 2 of my account and my vision. So I'm here, I'm continuing to do this, and thank you. So picking up where I left off, the feeling that I had immediately was that I was detected. I was immediately, the area that I was in was visible to them. When I say them, I mean demons. So one of the things I learned about hell is that they don't come running after you. They don't like grab you and drag you somewhere and start torturing you. This dimension, this place is all about demoralizing you. And it's all about holding you down, giving you false hope, and then crushing it again. Because they know that you can't leave, they know they're just going to find you. And because there's so many sectors or areas in hell and different levels of it, which I don't quite understand myself, it's not like you can leave. One of the things I've learned now is there is no presence of angels in hell. This is the one place that angels cannot go. And that's why this hurts so much, because knowing that those kids are there, they're still there. I believe that the sounds of the kids that were there were from all of the children and babies that have been sacrificed to hell. That's why they're there. This is the thing that hurts me and kills me the most. This is what keeps me up when I can't sleep. So immediately, I just can't describe, like, have you ever, I want to describe this to do it justice, but it's like the atmosphere is so hard and dense and physical and primal that it feels like I was in a sauna. If you've ever been to like a public steam room or a bathhouse of some kind, it wasn't like it wasn't like an infrared sauna where it's like an internal heat. It was a heat from the external around your body that just consumes you. And my energy levels were just dropping so quickly. Like I said, just moving was exhausting. Everything was so heavy and dense that it was like I was losing life force. I knew that I was losing life force straight away. And like just the sheer filth. Everything is filthy and black and disgusting, moldy. The smells are just like beyond anything, just putrid, absolutely putrid. So I was wandering around the rubble. I'd gone out into this open area where I saw people all in like a chain gang. They were all in a single file and they were all kind of in unison, all shuffling their feet. They had chains around their necks, chains around their feet, and around their hands that were holding out in front of them, that were like chained onto the next person in front of them. They were all just like shuffling along. And that is when I saw from a distance my first physical demon in hell. The demon was this great big fat goblin with like, I couldn't see the face fully because its back was turned to like, as it was kind of in front leading them. Like it was like, it felt very like a general, like he was in charge of this group of souls. And then I started to, like, I was actually, I don't know how I wasn't spotted straight away, but I knew that they, like, I felt all of these eyes on me. Like, have you ever been out in the bush, like in the forest? I have, in the dark, and you can feel eyes watching you. Like, I'm just trying to give you this visceral understanding of what I have just been through in this visitation that's coming through. So it was like I was being watched. I had a very, very strong feeling that I was being watched, and it was just like a matter of time before someone or something grabbed me. And all these little eyes everywhere, beady little eyes were looking at me. It was like the walls of the rubble, and like, because it was like broken down building structures. They were all kind of in the dark, like all watching me. The goblin, the demon was pulling the people as he was marching them towards, like, out into this kind of field. But there is no vegetation in hell. There is no grass. There is nothing natural. That's one of the first things, like one of the big things I want to express is it almost felt like a robot. It felt like synthetic. There was no natural world. Nothing was light. Everything was insectoid and like computers. I know that sounds strange, but it didn't, because it just didn't feel like, it felt like I was in the middle of a city. And as an empath, I mean, I don't like going into the city at all, really. But because it is so spiritually filthy, like going into a city is like the epicenter of corporate greed and all of the things that go on there. That's the feeling that I get as an empath. But this is the feeling that I got here, is like this times 1,000. The mind, it was like a feeling of, I know I have to, I don't want to, at the same time, I don't want to freak people out, but I feel like I have to get this out to give you the magnitude of it. That's why I'm doing these, that's why I'm doing the uploads like this. But yeah, it was totally non-natural. It was an inversion of everything that is natural. So he was like, this demon was marching them along, and then I kind of walked around my surroundings. I was trying to like protect myself. I had my hands around my waist, my one hand at all times across my nose because of the fucking smell. It felt primal. And I remember just trying to take it all in, because I kept having to close my eyes because I was still trying to adjust. And then I started to listen to the wailing. And it was like, I remember, it would have been like a documentary when I was young. I remember listening to a woman wail over the loss of her child I think it might have been in Iraq. Women get together and they all like howl and scream and grieve and stomp the ground, and that's what I was getting, that with so many, like hundreds of voices everywhere from all different directions. I couldn't pinpoint it for a while. And the dust everywhere, like my feet were just black. It was like in some parts I was stepping through dust as well, like it was nearly up to my knees, and I'd kind of pull myself back out again. One of the things that I heard in in the sounds around me was people pleading. But it wasn't like they were saying, like there was lots of different languages, so it was hard to like understand. There was lots of Middle Eastern languages. There was lots of languages that I think have been around long before modern day English was like created. So I couldn't understand the words, but I could understand the energy behind the words. Kind of human to human kind of thing, not just words, if that makes sense. Part of the reason of saying this is because I don't want to just do facts about this. I want to make you feel what I felt, so you can understand this on a heart level, because it was just so heartbreaking. Like heartbreaking. One of the things that I heard was people saying things like, but I was a CEO, I was a lawyer, I had, like, they were talking about what they were in this life, and trying to bargain or say that they were there unfairly. That's the vibe that I got. It was like people were trying to throw weight around as if like they were so special and so important. And one of the things that I noticed was, other than in hell or in this astral world, in the astral realm, you don't look like yourself fully. You look like your soul looks. So if you've got a really ugly soul and you're a really vicious, nasty, hateful, spiteful person, it doesn't matter what your photographs look like on Instagram or in your projection of the physical, hell removes that filter. So you look demonic. And a lot of them look demonic. I did mention this. I mentioned this in a previous video about sometimes when I'm on hookup apps or dating apps and I look at photographs, sometimes I actually see more of the version of them in hell than I see them in the physical. A lot of gay men, a lot of people that I see on the gay apps look demonic. They look very demonic. I noticed that smell of the rot that I was smelling was the rot of the soul. So I've mentioned this before in previous videos. It's a really disgusting smell. It's not the smell of flesh rotting. It's something altogether beyond flesh, but it's like people that live a lifestyle that abuse each other, use each other, and are, completely narcissistic. There is a scent around them that I've picked up before. I have mentioned that before in other videos, but that's the scent that I got. And one of the things that I also heard was lots of laughter. There was like screaming and laughter. And it was a wicked, wicked laugh. Like a cackle. Like, like that was all around me. And I noticed straight away that the feeling that I got empathically in my heart, in my mind, in every bit of my astral being, because you've got to understand my astral being was there, my physical body wasn't there, was that this whole dimension is based on the frequency of fear. And so they take advantage of that and they feed off that. That's what demons feed off. So as I was standing, unfortunately, I was in fear, like I was scared. And so I could feel like they could smell that. Like they could smell the fear that was coming off of me. Like it was like the scent of blood to a shark. And I could feel things rustling around me and moving around me. And like, it was like I was out in the ocean, really far out, with sharks just circling me. Giant, big, black sharks. Like that's the energy of fear and panic. And the whole time I just started kind of thinking to myself, I'm going to get out of this. And I kept thinking, I have also gone to therapy in the past in my life. And I've also, as you know, one of the things that I've learned about was in dialectic therapy as well, and understanding it from people that have gone through that treatment is you go into the opposite of what you're in. So knowing that where I was and realizing where I was, I started thinking of love. I started thinking of things in this world that I love, like my dog. My dog's name is Happy because she makes me happy. And I just kept seeing her little face. I just kept seeing her face, and I instantly started going in the opposite direction of where I was in fear. I was like, no, love, 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 love. And I just kept saying this in my head. Like I've started to go into my training. I knew straight away that I have to right now, and I need to be strong, and I need to shift the vibration within me to get out of this. So I kept kind of, thinking about her straight away. And then I kept on walking, and yeah, just all kinds of horrible sounds around me. Just people in hurt, in pain, torture. There were blunt instruments on the ground covered in blood. There was broken glass everywhere on the ground. It was painful to walk. It was like crunching under my feet. It was just completely over, like there was so much junk and shit everywhere on the ground. It was like an episode of Hoarders. The feeling that even though I was standing in kind of like an open space at that moment, it was also like I was claustrophobic. Like it felt like everything was crushing me. Like I couldn't breathe. And that's when I walked into this kind of chamber area, and it was interesting. It was like an abandoned kind of building. Everything was backwards. The words, like there was writing and signs as well, but it was all written backwards. So I noticed that the lettering was all backwards. I walked into this room. It was a giant big hallway, and there were fire torches on either side of this room. And in the middle of the room was a giant table. It was a big, like, banquet table. It was absolutely huge. It was something that you would see like a royal family have or something. Like it looked ancient. The source of light that was coming down onto this table was coming down from the roof of this room. And but it's hard to explain because there was no light source there. It was just shining down on this table. And the table was full of gold, full of plates of fruit. There were giant strawberries and apples, pears, oranges, nectarines, like every bananas, and giant purple big grapes. It was so decadent. Like it was unbelievable. There was like trays in the middle of the table that were all centered upright, and the food was just hanging over the top of the trays. And it was just glowing. And I remember looking at it, just like the glow was so strong when I looked at it, it was shimmering. And instantly I felt hungry. I felt this desire in me to eat it, like to consume this, to put this in my mouth, to go over to that table and take something off that table. And I just knew, no. Like I just got this really strong higher self was like, do not touch this. Keep moving, just keep walking. So as I was walking past the table, I just couldn't help but look at it. It was calling me. It was like, it was a magnetism, like a pull that was pulling me in to this table. And I had, because you've got to understand, I had to keep closing my eyes because I couldn't hold my eyes open all the time. I was also not breathing properly. Like I didn't feel like the oxygen was going, like I was blacking out because just the weight and this, I don't know, just the sense, like the energy of the place is just so dark and heavy. So I remember just walking past this table, and I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. It was like a condemned kind of abandoned castle. And I don't know, I've got a very strong feeling what the fruit was. I knew in my core not to touch the table or touch anything on that table and just keep walking. And then it was just, more sounds as I walked out of that. There was like another doorway at the other end of the hallway of the table. So I walked past the table into this other kind of chamber. And that's where I saw more people. Some of them had mechanical devices attached to their head. Some like, I have to be really like, I'm going to say it, like some of them had their eyes popped out of their sockets. Some of them were skinned. The top of their like scalp was ripped off. Some of them, everyone was deformed. Everyone looked deformed, like kind of like an orc from Lord of the Rings, like burned victims, like their skin was all kind of fucking melted off like Freddy Krueger. Distorted features, very distorted features. I think they were like, a lot of them were chained to the walls. Some of them were dressed from periods of time that, like one of them looked like he was dressed in like Egyptian clothing. I saw that straight away. And then I remember looking over to the other side of the room and there was like a guy dressed in chaps, like a cowboy. So it was like there was just so many different energies from different people from different time periods. So it was all just jumbled together. And then others were wearing robes. Some were not. They were all watching me, and some of them were laughing at me. So I kept on walking, and I just felt this incredible feeling of disempowerment and agony, just screaming. And I just knew I was leaking energy wherever I was. I could just feel things just watching me, and I was blacking out a lot, like I have mentioned before. I have to keep saying that. And then I continued to walk past them. Some of them were reaching out, trying to like scratch me and grab me. Some of them had like deformed little fingers that were all broken and twisted faces, twisted noses, just deformed. Like it was just so putrid, like, monstrous. yeah, I kept walking, and then I went into this room, and that's where I went into a hallway, and then it was deceiving because the hallway went on forever. Like I could look down this hallway and it just went on and on and on and on as far as I could see, but it didn't make any sense because I just walked into a building that couldn't have that much space inside the building. So yeah, I started to walk past some of these rooms, like a hotel. It was like a hotel hallway with all of these doors on either side of the hallway. And yeah, and I remember just looking in, some of the doors had different colors. Some of them had little windows in the front. I think I'm going to probably leave it here, and then I'm going to take a break. I will continue the upload and add the next audio recording onto this one. Maybe I think I'll leave it here and call this part 2, and then I'll come back when I'm ready and continue part 3. I don't know how long these recordings are going to go on for because I just want to get all this out. And I'm very hesitant to share this because I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. There are lots of animal sounds as well. Lots of animal sounds, like particularly dogs. Yeah, it was just really primal. All right, I'll leave this. Let's call this part 2. I'll make this part 2 now, and then I'll upload this one. Also, I have uploaded part 1, so I have noticed that comments have been deleted automatically. I will not delete any comments that are placed on these videos. So if the comment was deleted, I did not delete it. YouTube deleted that comment, okay? So please know that I'm totally open to anyone who wants to talk, wants to leave a comment or ask a question. I will take questions on Instagram, or I will come in when I'm ready to talk in the comment section. If you want to talk about this, you can. We'll continue the chat a little bit there. And like I said, I'll just go how I feel, like go with what I feel, and just keep it like, yeah, I just want to describe this so that way people understand. All right, I'll leave it here. This is part 2, uploading now, okay?